On today's episode, we have Goals versus Systems. Dave Ross put together a great show. You're going to really enjoy it. I also want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Hillcrest Foods. If you're looking for a broadline food distributor who cares about you as a local independent operator, check out Hillcrest Food Service at hillcrestfoods.com.
Imagine a perfect world where you can build a restaurant, open the doors, and make loads of money. Unfortunately, those days are over. It takes great leadership, hard work, and long hours to operate a successful restaurant. Together, we can make it happen. This is Restauranttopia.
Hey, welcome back to another exciting episode of Restauranttopia. We got the standard crew here, Brian Thank You Sites and Mr. David Ross himself. Today's episode's on Dave Ross. He's got some kick-ass notes about goals versus systems, and it's something I'm incredibly interested in because these are both incredible mindset things and strategies to put in play to actually achieve the stuff you want to do as opposed to just dreaming about it.
I'm excited about this. How you guys doing this morning?
I'm doing great.
Feeling good?
Yeah, awesome, man.
I'm on cup of coffee number 2.
Oh, excellent. I love caffeinated Brian.
It's
always a treat.
Is there any other Brian?
I've never met him, but I definitely like that version. So I was kind of inspired to do this episode. I'm reading a book called Atomic Habits, and it's really, into the new year. Guys, listen, I don't like the whole New Year's resolution thing, but on January 4th, I decided that I'm struggling with some habits and I want to get better at it. So there's two things I did. I started reading this book, Atomic Habits, and I downloaded an app called Habit Share.
Okay.
And I invited some people, and Anthony, you're actually on there with me and hopefully enjoying it, where you just literally
I don't know if it enjoys the word, but I'm pressured into it and I like it.
Yeah, but is it motivating you to change?
You're enjoying the accomplishment. No, I know you're being.
Yeah, I'm being facetious. No, I do enjoy it, and that's why I keep up on it because it's actually helping me tremendously. In fact, I'm ready to delete a couple off because they become habits already.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I know, and we're less than a month into that.
No, it's great.
It. So that's kind of where I was at in my life, and so this Habit Share app, and I would recommend if you download it, any listeners out there, you put your habits in, and then you're checking them off, and then you can actually share those habits with other individuals that you invite on, and then they see when you do your habits or if you didn't do them. And so it just gives you a level of accountability. It creates like an accountability group.
And I love that because, again, sometimes myself isn't enough. I can slide my notebook over. I can put the app down. But when I know other people are watching, A, I want them to see me succeeding. And B, I don't want them to see me failing.
Yeah.
So there's this kind of inadvertent peer pressure there that works out perfectly.
Yeah. Throughout kind of getting into this, trying to institute some habits that I've been wanting to do into my life, I'm reading this book, Atomic Habits. And there's a part of the book that talks about goals versus systems. And you always hear that you got to have big goals and you got to write your goals down. You got to do this. And I'm not saying you don't need that. Okay. I'm not saying goals aren't what you need to look at, but you need to focus on systems. And I think by the time we get done with this quick episode, you're going to understand where I'm coming from because everybody talks about goals. You got to have a goal. You got to have, and even some of, our training sessions, which I'll talk about, Anthony says it's the goal. That's you need the destination. You got to know where you start. You got to know where you end. But I want to talk about the path and how you get there. Okay, that's what this is really going to be about. So if we talk about a little bit of definitions to start us off, goals, are the object of a person's ambition or effort. Okay, it's the aim, it's the desired result. All right, it's the first step in trying to accomplish something. You know what I mean? You got to have the destination, no different than the GPS we talked about. So what do you want? Okay. But it's only the first step in the process. Okay. Where I think a lot of people falter is that they're staring at the goal all the time, which is good. You want to be focused on the goal. Okay. But what are you doing to set yourself up? What's the path? You need a plan. You need a strategy.
Process versus outcome.
Exactly. Yeah. So the process is the systems. That's that's what it is. So,
love it.
So the definition of systems, a set of principles or procedures according to which something's done.
And I love
it's the method.
I love focusing on this too because I meet a lot of people in practicing law and in my life and a lot of very successful people. I can tell you this right now, having $10 million does not make you happy. It makes things easier, but it does not make you happy. You really need to enjoy the journey of life, not that end goal. Oh, I want to do this or I want to achieve that or this is, and that's not what life's about. Life is about that journey and it's about every day getting up and doing those things that bring you joy. Now, putting systems in place where you take out some of the things that you don't and delegating, that's super important, but life is about the journey and about loving every day.
That's pretty heavy, man.
No, and that's
true though.
It is, and that's what creates happiness. Because think about it. If you're, you say, well, I'm goal oriented, or I'm whatever the term you want to use. But what ends up happening is, okay, you achieve the goal. Then what do? You're setting another goal, and then you just keep repeating it over and over again. Where you got there, and then what happened? Like, what did you, you know what I mean? Like, but if you're enjoying the process and enjoying the system and enjoying the journey, as you say, Brian, that's a beautiful thing. That's what creates happiness in life.
Well, it's kind of like what he said. If you have $10 million, it doesn't necessarily guarantee happiness. And I think what happens, though, is a lot of times is we look at that outcome and we envision the roses and the grass is so green over there. And then once you get there, you're like, wow, this is not what I expected. But we wasted all that time fixated on that outcome, fixated on the end of the rainbow as opposed to the rainbow itself.
100%. I totally agree.
And there's a quote from the book Atomic Habits. This hit me like a ton of bricks, as you would say, Anthony. Mm-hmm. When I read this, he goes, "Winners and losers have the same goals. Winners have the correct system to achieve them."
There you go. Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
Profound.
Well, and again, like, say that's your goal is to have $10 million. Like, that's a pretty common goal. Like, that a lot of people have that.
Almost everybody has that goal.
Yeah, no, that they want that.
But what are you doing?
Even the people with $9 million have that goal.
Correct. Yeah. No, I mean,
but what are you doing to get there? He also talks about in that book, the object of winning a football game. The object of winning is to score more points, right?
Yeah.
But if you're just staring at the scoreboard the whole time, is that going to get you?
Right. You're fixated on the outcome. What a great analogy that is.
So what do you got to do? You got to spend time getting better. You got to practice. You got to, work, do all those things. So that's a little bit just kind of setting this up.
But think about the win. Even game day is such a finite amount of time of the actual end result of the goal of the win. It's all the two-a-days. It's all the practice. It's all the push-ups. It's all the time in the weight room. It's all the time spending on the playbook. And then everything is reduced down to this 4-hour game. Mm-hmm. People get so focused on the game when we really should be focused on how much time in the weight room, how much time are you spending on the playbook. Those are the things that win the game.
No, and that's something I've learned recently watching a team that I adore, the Buffalo Bills. So they seem to so far this year they've been doing good. So, but they have it seems like they have a recipe for that because they prepare well, they practice hard, they do all those things, and then you see them on game day. They're just having fun.
Yeah.
Like, and you see it like they're dancing and they're like they're just and you're like, so all of the stuff that they're doing coming up for the game, where you think like, oh, you got to be focused on the game. You got to they're like loose and having fun because they've done all the preparation.
Yeah.
So for my favorite team,
who's that by the way?
The Browns.
Oh, the Cleveland Browns. Now, Anthony, tell us more because I like this. I like this a lot better than the best.
I bet you do.
I think the great and wise Kevin Stefanski, who is a couple years younger than all of us, he looks like he's older, but he's not. And he said something along the lines of the game is won by Thursday or Friday. Yeah. We just play it on Sunday. And I look at him like, how cheesy is that? Whatever. Give me your mumbo jumbo bullshit. And then I started thinking it through. I was like, he's so right.
It's absolutely
that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is so important. If you don't lay the foundation there, then your outcome's going to suck.
Absolutely.
So he's concluded that the process is everything, and that a tremendous process through the week leads to a victory on Sunday. And you're right, they play loose and they play fun and they're smiling and they're on point. It's
have the strategy, trust the process, all those things. So this takes work, okay? And the mindset. This was another, and I'm going to keep referencing this book. And if you don't have it, like, please go get this book because it's amazing. But he talks about somebody that's quitting.
What's the book?
It's called Atomic Habits.
All right, we'll put the.
And they're not a sponsor. Neither is Habit Share. This is just personal stuff that I think everybody should do.
And we'll put the links in the show notes. So if you're like in the car right now and you're like, I want to get this stuff, it's at restauranttopia.com, and that's where the links are at.
Yeah. So another mindset he talks about in there is somebody quitting smoking. Okay. So he says there's two people that are quitting smoking. Okay. Anthony walks up, offers the first one a cigarette. Okay. The first one declines a cigarette by saying, "No, I'm trying to quit." Okay. It's a reasonable response. Okay. You know what I mean? No, I don't know what I'm trying to quit. The second person responds. He goes to hand the cigarette. The second person responds, "No, I'm not a smoker." Okay. So the mindset there, very similar responses, but the mindset is a huge difference.
Same outcome, different process.
Exactly. Yep. So the first one says, I'm trying to quit. Mm-hmm. The other one is like, I'm not a smoker.
Yeah.
So that's just one thing because mindset's everything in my world. I feel like that sets us up for really.
I miss the days when people would offer you cigarettes. Do you guys remember that at all? Like,
I've never smoked, but
it used to be a common courtesy. If you step out with smokers or someone had a cigarette, they would pull out their pack and offer one to you. Yeah. It was just a couple years ago. I was with someone from Canada, and it was a buddy of Rick's, and he went outside to have a cigarette, and he opened his pack and offered me one, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, fine, I'll have a cigarette with you." Like, I don't smoke anymore, but I have one. It was great.
It's a throwback.
I loved it. He didn't have any matches though. That would have been awesome if he lit it with matches instead of a lighter. Anyway, I digress. So he's talking about smoking.
Pulls out the Bic.
Yeah. Zippo.
Or the Zippo.
Yeah.
So now that you guys are done with 1950,
now we'll get back into 2021 here.
A shave and a haircut for 2 bits.
So the other thing I want to discuss here is...
No, but before you go on, I want to talk about mindset. I think that is so important, and what your worldview is. We were talking before the episode started just about happiness and where your head is at. Make sure your head is in a good spot. Don't be angry. Even when things don't go right or what you think is right, make sure that you're in a positive place. I think that's very, very important.
Yeah, no question. It's everything. Listen, it's everything. When you allow negativity to creep in, and it happens to all of us. Like, life is not perfect. Like, life's going to smack you in the face. How you handle it is what it's all about. So I totally agree. That's great advice.
When that employee isn't doing well, the server or whoever that's not doing great, don't get angry. What are you doing to implement things that change their behavior and to coach them up?
No, absolutely. So focus on the systems. We got to have goals, okay? But focus on the systems to get to that goals, okay? And I just want to throw one caveat out here is that if you think you set up a system, okay, and you remove yourself and the system breaks, that is not a system.
No.
It's a key piece to this.
This is critical. Okay, so you think that if you're the chef or the manager or whatever, and you're an integral part of that system, and when you remove yourself, it just falls apart and doesn't work, that is not a system.
Also
I
a sign
hate to
of bad
tell you this,
leadership.
but it's not a system. You know what I mean?
But it's not a system. Like, think about this. You want to be the restaurateur with 5 locations? Implement systems in place in one location that allows you to remove yourself from that location. When you have not taken a vacation in 6 years, you do not have systems in place.
Right.
When you cannot take a vacation for 3 days without everything going to shit, you do not have systems in place.
Yeah. And it's winter in Ohio. You know, when you're the owner of the restaurant and you're shoveling the walkways every day, like, you might not have the greatest systems. So that's just something before we get too far into this. So
that's really hard to argue with and very, very common.
Yeah.
Our tendency is to roll up our sleeves and jump in, right?
Absolutely.
But again, maybe not the best allocation of resources.
No, it goes back to a term we used in prior episodes. It's founder's disease. I mean, it's very tough for these founders, and there's a lot of founders in the restaurant industry, local restaurants. Like, they started the business, they did it, and they feel like they're the only ones that can do it.
And they've always done it.
Exactly.
I've always done it, so why should I change now?
No, and listen, you could do it that way. We're not telling you to change what you're doing. We're just saying, if you want to be a smooth sailing ship, work on systems and try to remove yourself from the system. And if it still works, you probably have a good system.
Well, what's funny about that is, as a founder, typically you're the most innovative or maybe not intelligent per se, but most driven, most motivated, so on and so forth.
Most skin in the game. Everything.
Everything, right?
It's yours.
And ultimately the most positive influence. And if you're out shoveling the driveway, what kind of influence are you having? So it goes back to what Brian said, I think probably episode 1 or 2, right? When he said work on the business instead of in the business. And that founder's disease is in the business all day long.
Yeah.
But step out, man. Use your brain. Use your passion.
And there's something to be said about rolling up the sleeves and doing something.
So listen, if the guy,
when the dishwasher calls off or the guy that shovels the driveway isn't there, like, and you do it, like, that's something that your staff should see, and they should know, like, hey, you know what, like, Joe's actually, he's getting it done. You know what I mean? But it shouldn't be the way it's done every day of the week.
It should be every Tuesday,
exactly, right?
Like, oh, Joe's closing dish again.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
but we have a system where we can't hire good people, and that's why there's no dishwasher, because we've lost another dishwasher, and that's the 6th one this month. Those are the sorts of things that you really got to look at, and how do you grow as an organization. Again, you don't need to have 7 locations. I'm talking one location that is very profitable and that runs really, really well.
Yeah, but it's fascinating about that, because once you get those systems down, then all of a sudden you can start stepping away. Now you have scalability. Now you have that ability to go open restaurants because you already have the template set, right? Yeah. So this is really more than twofold even. This could be a 10-fold thing.
But maybe it's this. I'm gonna blow your mind. Maybe it's a restaurant that does 1.8 as opposed to 2 restaurants that do 700,000. I'm telling you, there's more profit in that one restaurant that does 1.8 than 2 units that does 900,000.
And typically have the headaches.
Yeah.
Mind blown. Again, we got to start with goals, okay? But I think everybody's pretty good at setting goals in the restaurant. You got sales goals.
Yeah.
How much you want to dine in, how much you want to carry out, all those different things. You got cost goals, your food cost, your labor cost. When you're opening the restaurant, like, what I'm negotiating my lease, all those different things. You've got those goals, okay? Profit goals, how much money do I want to put to the bottom line? Like, everybody's good at that. Menu goals, what's the size of my menu? What's the quality? What's the, what's the profitability of it? What's the pricing? So there's so many goals in the restaurant industry. I feel like that's the easy part. Okay? Where it's missed is the real success of setting up the system to get to that goal. Okay, go back to the GPS analogy. So you know where you're at, you know where you want to be. Okay, the car is the system. That's how I'm going to get there. If you don't have that system, it's just a long walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're all big, football fans here. So another legend in the football industry, Bill Walsh, he says the score takes care of itself. Maybe not as successful as Kevin Stefanski, but he's basically saying the same thing.
Bill's got some room to grow.
That seemed like a humble brag. I was like, oh.
But the score takes care of itself. So,
Okay.
What are the systems? So one thing I want to take a little break to plug Hillcrest Hospitality Academy that's just getting launched here.
Love it.
So Anthony has really done a great job for Hillcrest setting up this academy to really teach excellence in the hospitality industry.
Yeah, thanks, brother. I appreciate the plug.
No, it's amazing. You're going to be seeing more of this, and we're going to be talking about this and setting some dates so that this can, so you can attend. But, I wanted to put that out there because really Anthony has become an expert in these, through his experience and then through his research in this hospitality academy.
Mostly my mistakes.
Oh, you kidding me?
Yeah,
Yeah, right. Yeah, no question.
I made a lot of them, so
Yeah,
it's made
sure.
a very, very, appropriate place to teach on this stuff, right?
Yeah. So and I think that approach that you take in those sessions is great because it doesn't put you up there as like people are like, oh my God, this is some unattainable like genius that we're never gonna, you're like,
Yeah.
dude, I've screwed this up. I know it doesn't work this way. Like it works this way.
It comes from a place of authenticity.
Exactly.
I assure you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give Anthony a minute to kind of walk through setting up a system in the restaurant industry. I'll let you pick whatever you want, but like walk us through what this looks like. So you've got, where you're at, you've got a goal.
Yeah.
Set up a system.
Let's talk about like your sales goal thing because that kind of hit home for me. Is when I was in a restaurant one time, I was talking to the owner and we were down in sales. We had an off year. We were projected to have an off year. And he said, all right, we need a sales campaign. We need to raise 4%. We need to raise 2%, whatever it was, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's great. So you go announce it to the staff and you say, all right, here's our sales goal, guys. Like everybody raise sales 4%. So now all the servers are running around like, okay, I got to raise the sales 4%.
Yeah.
So we had our outcome in mind. We knew what we wanted to do and we communicated effectively and we trained on it, but we had no system. What we told them was just go make 40%. And it was kind of like firing in the dark, right? But
Let's just sell more stuff.
we thought that was going to work. But this is the simplest system ever. What me and the GM were talking one day, we established really easy is, okay, here's our check average for a 4 top. What if the server sold 1 glass of wine, 1 espresso, 1 ice
Exactly.
cream? So then we isolated a list of things. And then we trained everybody a little bit differently. We said, okay, here's your table. Here's your bonus items. Sell 1 bonus item per table. And the chances are, like, look, some of those tables are going to order those bonus items anyway. But then what happened is 5 out of 6, 6 out of 7 weren't. And the server all of a sudden got that extra espresso, that affogato, whatever the case may be.
Have you tried our delicious cheesecake?
Yeah.
It is amazing. I'm telling you, I've eaten a lot of cheesecake in my life. This is the best. Training them up and teaching them tools to sell is critical.
Also giving them the cheesecake to try. So they're really authentic and they believe it, and it is the best cheesecake they've ever had. And we didn't say you had to sell cheesecake. Maybe they don't like cheesecake. No. But you know what? Maybe the affogato, the espresso with ice cream was their favorite thing.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you have 3 steps in this process, and that was it. And it worked out so well because we gave them a clear objective on the outcome, on the process, how to do it, right?
But isn't that more doable than, say, increase 4%? Like as a server, I wouldn't even know, like, how am I going to affect 4%? Like, I don't know. It doesn't seems like such a small amount, but I don't know what to
The server
do.
doesn't even know what 4% is.
That's
like,
exactly right.
What is the average check average? What is the,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
So we had these goals and we had this outcome in mind, but we had no way to get there other than just a hope and a prayer. And so then by educating them and say this is all it takes, and again, this is a very simplistic process, and I'll give you a more expansive one that you're already familiar with next. But that was everything. And all of a sudden they raised sales and it was no problem whatsoever. Everything was all good because they could easily intellectualize exactly how to get to the outcome, how to get to the goal. And all we did was add like 1 step in there, 1 step, sell a bonus
very
item. Here's your
simple.
bonus
I love
item,
it.
right?
Yeah.
No, it worked out great.
One thing about this, back in episode 41, we talk about like servers that won't write the orders down, but then you're going to ask them like, well, raise sales 4%.
Right.
Like,
Like, I'm still trying to remember the chicken parm.
I can't get the dressing right. I can't get the...
Right. So another system that's probably more applicable to the kitchens, Dave, and you went through this PALS training that I did. We talked about it enough. Obviously, it's been incredibly impactful. But I always think about this because it's we take for granted, like, say, the French fry example, and I know you've heard it a million times. I'm sorry if you're tired, but it's worth sharing.
Oh, this is I could never hear this enough.
The outcome is hot, crispy, golden brown, well-seasoned fries every single order, right? And so we laugh about that because it's just French fries. And most operators are like, it's just French fries. You bring on an experienced cook, they throw them in the fryer, they're golden brown, who cares, get them out. But we didn't teach them how to season them. We didn't teach them how long to fry them. We just said golden brown. So we leave so much subjectivity within that realm. What PALS did was they broke down their French fries into 30 steps. And we're talking a crinkle cut, prefabricated, frozen fry. Yeah. So produce the best fries possible is the outcome, right? They defined what the best possible fry is. and that's golden brown, that's seasoned correctly, that's hotter than you can eat, because legitimately you have to wait to eat your fries from there. And then they reverse engineered it. It's much like academics, where we determine the learning outcome and then we figure out our syllabus how to achieve that learning outcome. They did the exact same thing there. But they started with square one being the freezer temperature. So they look at the manufactured recommended temperature to hold those fries. So if we're going to serve the best fries, we got to treat the fries the best. And then they created a 30-step process. After their freezers held at exactly minus 12 degrees specifically for French fries, they've maintained the integrity of this French fry like to the utmost degree. Step one in this process is 30 steps to making their French fries. That's the system they did. So they broke it down into bite-sized chunks. Step one's open a freezer door. Step two is grab the fries out. Step three is open a bag of fries. Step four, measure the fries. You see where I'm going with this, all the way to deep frying. Perfect timer. Shake the seasoning 5 times over, 5 times back. I mean, ridiculous, right? But what it came down to was not only are they experiencing the outcome that they wanted every time, but now their system is so damn solid, it's on a spreadsheet, step by agonizing step. They can train perfectly on it.
Correct.
So the benefit to that process is now all of a sudden it's again scalable, replicatable. Yeah. It's not in someone's head. It's not in someone's heart. This is a list of defined bullet points that we can train, measure, and repeat every single time without fail. And guess what? Their fries are damn perfect every time you go there without fail.
And if you're listening right now and you're like, that's great, Anthony, but I'm an artist and I have the way I do it. And
Call me.
Fine. It's fine. If you want to share your art, part of that is being profitable. And the second part is providing amazing, consistent hospitality. People want consistency when they go to a restaurant. And I mean consistently good, not consistently bad. Training people up and putting systems in place that are rock solid is 100% necessary.
And Brad, to your point, I'm not an artist. I don't have very much artistic license in my body or an artistic bone, so to speak. But I did fancy myself pretty good academically. And I did okay with the numbers, and I did okay with the structure and the systems, and I see things very black and white.
Yeah.
So where I always struggled in the chef world was maybe I wasn't creative. I didn't come out with that super badass dish. But I did have really good technique, and I understand good systems and organization.
Yep.
So to your point, if there is that person out there who says I'm an artist and that's not my jam, well, hell, let's get together and collaborate, and I can help you out because I can fill in where you don't love to, and then I can take your art to the next level.
Yeah, and this is a whole separate...
There's a reason why there's the term starving artist.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I'll feed their belly.
and this is a topic for another episode, but it's when you partner up with someone, find someone who
yin and yang, man.
Yeah, that really complements your weaknesses. But I love this topic.
Yeah, it's great.
So if you always focus on the process, always focus on the systems, like Anthony described, I think that's really when you're going to get to the goals easily. Like Bill Walsh says, like the score's going to take care of itself. You're going to hit the goal because you put the system in place. So if you and also I think another thing that's important to note is that the system should work with just about anybody in the system.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, within reason, like you don't necessarily want your dishwasher creating new menu ideas. Okay. Or maybe you do. I don't know. But at the end of the day, like you got to look at your personalities and your things. But it should work for most people within your company. That system should still run no matter who's in there. So if you look at it like an assembly line, or think of like a production system or an assembly line, I think that'll help the mindset. And think, okay, you got step one, step two, a car going down the assembly line. Okay, we got the frame. Now we're going to put, the body on. Now we're going to put the doors in. Now we're going to put the tires on. And you go down through. It's no different than the fries. We're going to open the freezer door. We're going to grab the fries.
That's everything, though, because if you told me to build a car, I would be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
If you told me step one, attach this. Step two, screw this on. Step three. And then all of a sudden, maybe it's 1,000 steps, but all I got to do is the step that's right in front of me, and then I move on.
Oh, and I'm similar to you in mindset. You talked about like that. You think of things black and white, and that like I'm very similar like that. So like around the holidays, like the kids always get something that you got to put together. You know what I mean? So it's like and I'm telling you, like I think the stereotype for guys is like, oh, we don't read the instructions, we just do it.
Yeah.
I am not that way at all. Like I literally I open it up, I press the instructions out, and I go, okay, I need a screwdriver, I need this wrench, I need this.
You get your mise en place together.
And I get all the stuff and I spread it out, and my wife comes over and she goes, let me help, and I'm like,
no.
And then she goes that she grabs something and starts trying. I go, stop, like that. I'm on step 1. You're like on step 10. I'm gonna put it together by the instructions,
But
That's
the
awesome.
5 minutes of prep time that you put in, and I do the same thing. I'm wired that way. The 5 minutes of prep time is you're already looking into the future and you're seeing all the mistakes and all the places you can go wrong.
And I don't mean like my wife's pretty handy. Like if she had to just do it on her own, like if I was at work, she would get it done. I'd come home and it would be put together. But when I'm doing it,
might be a few bonus parts left over.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Here's another thing I really appreciate. Like when you're doing all those things and there's nothing left.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's the best feeling.
Yeah. No. I think about the company that put that together with the confidence.
Yeah.
So think about the systems they have set up. Mm-hmm. They did not give you one extra nut, bolt, screw, anything.
Within the last 6 months, though, of toy buying and furniture buying and things, I noticed that companies are starting to give you a spare parts bag in there.
Oh, yeah.
Too many people complain because, listen, I get so pumped up when that happens, but that's the exception to the rule. It almost never happens. I'm
not pumped up. I'm disappointed. I'm more impressed with the company that said, you know what, screw it. We're giving you 10.
Yeah.
And the employee's going to put 10 in there. We trained them.
Yeah.
We've got the system.
Right.
They're going to put 10 in the box.
My favorite one is the cardboard with the nuts and bolts vacuum sealed onto it. Yeah. So they're all right there. There's 10 because you can see 10 and they're in the little squares.
Oh, they always make that shit so hard to open though, and then when you do get it open,
it's flings everywhere.
Yeah. Pisses me off.
Anyway, so got a little off track there, but think of it like a production line. Think of it like an assembly line. I think that'll help the process and the mindset to get to the end goal. And then the other thing I wanted to mention as we wrap up here is that as you're looking at that production line, to go back to PALS, which were very near and dear to our heart, but during that production line, they have this philosophy called an internal customer.
Love it.
When they're building a hamburger, which should be a very simple thing, you've got the guy on the grill, he's doing it a certain way, and then he gives it to the next person who puts it on the bun, and they do the condiments, but each person has a goal to make sure that they're doing it the right way for the next person, because ultimately, at the end of that line is the customer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you're constantly serving the next person in line to the customer, then you'll hit your goal and have your end product in line.
If you can get your employees to think like that, that's amazing.
I know.
Because then all of a sudden they respect each other, and that's a culture piece, and we'll talk about that. But
really,
how's
the prep guy supporting the sous chef, and the sous chef supporting the exec, and the expo supporting the server, and the server,
right. And what's important to mention there, Dave, too, is in that hamburger process, what they have done down there is not only they have their process outlined in perfect steps, so it's easy to follow, but they've ensured every step of that process is the best known way of doing things. Mm-hmm. So when they put the burger on the flat top, it's the most efficient way, from the way they store their burgers to if they're frozen or fresh, to the way they season their burgers, to how long they let them caramelize, what the right level of caramelization is, then they timed it and established that, those details. So every step of the process is the best known way of doing things. They don't look at the scoreboard at all.
Right. Because
they know at the end of the day, once every step's followed, that burger is going to be a badass burger. And guess what? They are. Every single time you go
Every single time. Yeah. No.
So if any of that excites you, that's what really this Hillcrest Hospitality Academy was put together. It was PALS and Zingerman's and Union Square Hospitality and all these different amazing hospitality trainings that we've attended, and Anthony's experience and just his 20 years of experience in the industry. We've put that all together with his spin, and it's really an excellent 3 sessions that he's got set up. So, as we start talking about this and promoting it, we'll have dates and different things, and check it out on restauranttopia.com or hillcrestfoods.com. You'll see those things in the upcoming weeks.
I appreciate that, man. It's very kind words. You put a lot of work into this, and I got a lot of passion behind it. I love talking about it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's great. So that's all I got, guys. That's pretty simple, and just keep focused on the systems. Have goals, but focus on your systems.
Yeah, love it, man.
Love it.
Great job. Yeah,
very absolutely. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Welcome to our new segment, In the Trenches, here on Restauranttopia. Thank you for listening, and this is a segment that is going to focus on restaurant experts and professionals, whether it be on the distribution side in the restaurants or on any part that really touches the restaurant industry. So you enjoy it. Today we have Adam Boone on the show, and so we're going to spend a few minutes talking to him about kind of where he started, where he's at now. So Adam, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good, real good. So tell me a little bit about how you ended up here, what you're currently doing, and I guess how you got here.
So currently in sales. Started out in the restaurant industry. I was a chef for 16 years. Just really got to the point of had a family at home. The amount of time I spent away from my family got to be a little overbearing, and decided to give the sales side of it a shot.
Yeah.
Utilize my knowledge and in a different format, and go into this. So
okay, when you made that transition, because I've seen people do that live in front of me, and it's interesting because in the restaurant industry you're working and you're basically living a reverse life. You may have Mondays off or Sunday Monday or whatever it is, and then your friends are out on the weekend dining in restaurants and you're working, and so it's so then you go out, you look and you see your sales guy come in and you're like, that looks kind of cool. Maybe I could do that.
You always used to hear about them taking vacations, and they had the holidays off and Friday, Saturday nights off. Really being able to spend the time with the family as well, and along with friends.
Yeah. So tell me about your family then. Kids,
wife and kids. Yep, married. I have oldest son of 19. Have 7-year-old and 11-year-old.
Okay.
So, I had talked to a lot of people before I made the change, kind of a situation of either branch out on my own, possibly start my own restaurant, or, go for, I guess, more of a quality of life.
Sure.
Everybody that I talked to said if you can have an opportunity to see your kids grow up, take advantage of it because you can't get that time back.
Yeah.
And it's been a good move.
Yeah. So how long have you been on the sales end of it?
5.5 years now.
5.5 years. Okay. All right. And then, and you worked for a pretty prominent restaurant group. So tell me a little bit about the transition, where you started, what company and what you're doing now, and kind of that, the transition in the sales aspect of your career.
Okay, so as far as the restaurant goes, I started working at restaurants back when I was in high school. Got an opportunity to go into Ken Stewart's, which is located down in Akron. It's got 3 restaurants. Pretty much bypassed culinary school. Learned under some very good chefs there, one of which, Zach Brule. Got to learn hands-on with him for quite a few years before he left, and then pretty much worked my way up the ranks. Kind of started in the pantry area, and then just progressed throughout. And then I saw the opportunity when Zach left to go to the owner and say, hey, I want a shot at the job. Mm-hmm. And he said, okay, I'll give you 3 months. Let's see what happens. And
was it that easy?
Was
it that easy?
It was 16 years later after that. But it's a situation where I knew everything within the restaurant, and I had my own ideas that I wanted to put spins on, with inside, with food and operations and so on and so forth. And it was a great opportunity, and went after it, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
And then like I said, just decided to go a different avenue and go for the quality of life and be able to see my family at night and tuck my kids into bed. And
yeah, sure.
It's been a good move.
Yeah, so on the sales end, you went from the restaurant back of the house to Cisco, correct?
So I worked for Cisco for 4.5 years. Okay. Gave me my starting position as far as sales goes, which I had never been in any kind of sales beforehand. But I knew the food, I knew the business. It actually was an easier transition than what I thought it was going to be, for the fact that I can go in and talk to lingo with the chefs, with the general managers, with the owners.
A ton of empathy, ton of relatability. You've been through it.
Exactly. Yeah. And utilize what I knew and bring it to the table to try to help their business succeed and grow. With Cisco, it was good, but, we're also talking about a huge corporation. For me, at the point in time to where I thought maybe it was time to make a change, was more for the fact that I felt like I was just another number. Wasn't being heard, wasn't being appreciated as much as I thought I should be, I guess, and really wanted to be with a company that I could help the customer more than I was able to there. Yeah. That's why I decided to move over to Hillcrest.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we get caught up, because I've been at Hillcrest my whole distribution career, and so I've learned and talked to plenty of people like yourself who've experienced that more corporate big box side of the business, and then coming over here, and a lot of times it's a positive experience, like the majority of the time, because they it's a little more family oriented, a little more love, a little more like not a number on a spreadsheet and those types of things. But I think like sometimes it's easy to say like, well, that's just. We're just a better company. We're just, but I think it's a different perspective to say like, there's nothing wrong with the company. They just have a certain business model. Yeah. And like you said, like they just have a scale and a size where it's run differently. You could look up Cisco's gross profit on Google. They're a perfectly performing company. There's nothing wrong with the business. But just when you come down to the individual level, it's a different scenario.
And you know what? It was one thing that I ran into a lot when going in and talking to accounts to where I'm trying to get the business, from. And, I tell them I'm from Cisco. Well, you guys are too big for us. We're just a small family operated business, And then I obviously had to spin it to where, well, it's not about Cisco. It's about me. I'm taking care of your account, And, sometimes that would work, and unfortunately, a lot of times it wouldn't work. Yeah. But it's something to be said to where, a little bit smaller company takes a little bit more care in the locally owned and independent restaurants than I was able to give on the other side. So.
Yeah. Well, and it aligns. The business models are similar. Like it's local, it's independent. Like the founders, right? An office down the hallway from me. It's definitely different. And I guess you have two perspectives in the restaurant business. You have somebody that looks at the way you just mentioned, it's kind of like, well, we're small, you're a little too big for us, and then I think you've got other people that have aspirations of multiple units, or maybe the ability they want to go out of state, and they're thinking like, well, I got to be with the big guy now, You know, and I think it's a process of educating that it doesn't have to be that way either way. You know what I mean? Like it can work regardless, you know, so no, that's good. So experience at Hillcrest, been about a year or so, like how, you know, what
Yeah, we're going on now, was it 5 months?
Okay.
And the experience, you know, it's definitely been different. It's been a little bit of change as far as just learning all the ins and outs.
Sure.
But just like with anything else, I mean, it's a learning experience. It's getting comfortable with how everything operates, you know, on a different scale. But it's been great.
Yeah, awesome. Some of those feelings of, you know, kind of not heard, not known, like
Well, you know, I can walk into somebody's office here and talk to them about a situation instead of sending an email to somebody in Houston and everything having to be communicated like that. Yeah. You know, in this business, a lot of things have to happen very quickly. You know, you got restaurant owners and chefs that need answers right away.
Right.
You know, and that's my biggest thing. I want to be able to get back to them, you know, in a quick manner. And sometimes on the other side, it took, you know, a lot of follow up.
Sure.
Do we have an answer yet?
Yeah.
You know, and you got, you know, customers that are just waiting to hear back from you on, is it yes or no?
Yeah, and those other inquiries that are coming from other people don't stop because you're waiting on something either. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You got to be a master of like, okay, when did I ask that? And when do I have to follow up? And when do I, you know?
That's exactly it.
Yeah,
That's exactly
sure.
it. Keeping track of it all.
A funny story. One other person that had a similar experience as you worked at Cisco, came over to Hillcrest. He talked about routing for the customer routing trucks. You know what I mean? And he said, the way he described it to me, I was like, oh my God, I don't understand how anything gets done. It was literally like, it was an email from them to their district manager, the district manager to the vice president to routing. It was like a 3-4 approval. And then but you know, I was like, oh my God, like, how do you even get an answer? Like, it was like 6 people to like.
Oh, that's the whole thing. I mean, you're waiting for
all
essentially 4 other people to do their job.
Yeah. And all I want to know is like, okay, the guy's going to come in an hour later tomorrow. Like, we just want to move it. Like, and it's like, you know.
It's a lot of. There was a lot of that as far as that goes.
Yeah. So, no, glad the experience has been good. So here's what I'm most excited to ask you about, you know, just because of your experience in the industry. So you spent 16 years, you know, on that end of it. You come over here on the sales side, you're 5.5 years in. What are some of the things that you are most passionate about when you're talking to that restaurant operator to either help them in their business or help them with, you know, the menus, or like, what's your go-to thing that you love to help restaurant operators with now?
Well, obviously with being in the kitchen, you know, back at a house as long as I was, you know, I know how it all functions. Things that I used to do on my side, whether it be scheduling with labor, food prep, food costs, menu ideas, you know, all that I'm able to bring to the table now and help them and make suggestions to where maybe they haven't thought about that yet. That's one thing that I usually go in, you know, and get to know the back of the house. You know, everybody from saying hi to the dishwasher to everybody up to the chef. You know, because, you know, for me, it was always a situation of, you know, I always tried to promote from within when I was a chef. You know, if I had people that wanted to learn the other side of it and say that, hey, they were on the dish tank and they wanted to learn about food, then I'm willing to teach everything to anybody that's willing to learn. You know, so always say hi to those people.
Yeah, because you never know, like that.
That dishwasher could be the next. That's exactly it. You know, 5 years down the road, he could be the next chef.
Yeah.
Just giving that hand when needed, as far as ideas go in the back of the house, with all avenues.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of gotta walk a fine line a little bit to where you don't go in pushing. Right. You know, hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need to do that. No, you kind of you wait for them to ask a little bit. You tell them a little bit about your background.
Right.
But then, you know, if they start, you know, digging in a little bit, then you can say, hey, you know, this is something I used to do, or, you know, maybe try it like this. You know, here's another idea for you.
Well, there's no egos in the kitchen, right? You don't have to worry about that, right? Yeah. No, I could see you come in, and if you act a little bit like too much of a know-it-all, like,
well, that's it. You could be put, it could be very off-putting.
Yeah.
You know, kind of be a chameleon a little bit, and you know, there's certain chefs that take that and run with it and utilize you. And then, you know, you got other chefs that, you know, they already know everything. So, you know, you take that step back, and when it's asked, you're there to give. And, you know, when it's not, then so be it.
Yeah. And I think, you know, where I had, you know, when I was in your shoes on the sales end, like when I had my most success with certain people in relationships was when I had like that young kitchen manager or somebody that maybe and I didn't have the experience you had, but just being on the sales end and kind of learning the business, I would always try to give them something and make sure I took no credit.
Yeah,
That you make sure that it was like this. And I would tell them, like, guy, listen, this is your idea. You know what I mean? Like, this is all yours. You know what I mean? Now, if it flops, you can blame it on me. But like, if this goes well, like, I want it to be your idea, and then you gain the favor, and you gain.
100%. And they turn around, they look good. To their GM, to their owner. Yeah. For coming up with that, and that's totally fine. I'm not in it for that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like you want the restaurant to succeed so we can succeed. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean? Like if the restaurant's going backwards, we're going backwards.
Absolutely.
Like that's the game.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's a big piece of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I always told, new customers or whatnot. If you're not successful, we're not successful.
Yeah.
And this is a partnership.
Yep.
So we have to be transparent with each other. I'm here to help. Mm-hmm. So just let me know any way I can help. I'm there for it.
Yeah. No, awesome, man. No, this was great, man. I appreciate you spending the time, and hopefully you guys out there listening had a good time with this. Adam, thanks so much for being here, man.
Dave, thank you.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.